Hello, welcome back to Thrive Yoga Fit Transformational Coaching. This is Erin, and I am in my office, I guess you would call it. It's my room where I do my body work. I have my formulas. I feel kind of like this is my wizard's lair. In fact, I think I'm gonna name it that. So it's early morning and I wanted to get a podcast to you. And something I have been working on in my life is making my moments spacious. And not just making them spacious, but making each activity that I do individually like its own little ceremony. Through learning to mindfully eat, as well as just, studying myself and slowing down a little bit, it has brought awareness to me that a lot of times I'll do one activity and then I'll rush off to the next one without sort of like closure, without sealing the energetic seal. And that builds up a residue in the body. And then by the end of the night, you're just like, oh, or you go into your next activity and you realize like, I'm still the person I was beforehand. Whereas here it requires a different skill set, a different mindset, right? I know you're always like the same person, but you can incorporate avatars, like versions of you that you embody or roles that we play. So getting back to my Ashtanga practice also helped that as well, because in between the poses, you stand in Samasthiti with the standing series, which is, like tall standing pose, nice and steady, like steady the whole body and everything about you. And you allow your body to process what you just did. So, I have a tendency to multitask. I have a tendency I'm involved in a lot of stuff, guys. If you haven't figured that out already, I do roller derby. I own 2 yoga studios. I'm a podcaster. I'm an author. I'm all the I guess, normal roles of like being a partner, being a friend, being a mentor. I lead certifications and trainings. So I'm always talking to my students and my trainees. And so I give a lot. I put on a lot of roles. And then that's not to mention like Fun Time Erin and like Dancy Erin. So, we all have a lot of roles that we play. And I'm no exception. And I started trying to like sit down with what I was doing in that moment and release distractions, like put the phone away, and not just that, like external things can be put away and you can still very much be in your head while you're doing something completely different. And, I was finding also, as studying myself, I was feeling like less and less motivated just to get shit done. And which is odd for me because I usually like to get stuff done. I'm one of those people that gets a little dopamine pop by like putting a task I just did on my to-do list and then checking it off. Like that's the kind of person that I am. I'm a go-getter. So for me, when I feel very heavy and I feel unmotivated, I'm like, okay, like hold the phone. There's something that I'm holding on to mentally that I really need to purge because like this isn't my typical character. So, after just slowing down and studying, I'm like, wow. There's actually one very clear moment that happened. I was teaching a yoga fit class, which I'm actually going to teach in a few minutes in the other studio. And, right after that, I was teaching body rolling, which is like 2 different things altogether. Like yoga fit is like personal training and strength training combined with a yoga class, and body rolling is like rolling around on these different balls, myofascial release, like deep breathing, like very parasympathetic nervous system to the sympathetic nervous system. So I didn't have any lag time in between. I usually have about a half an hour, which sometimes that's cut short to 20. And, people were like buying my book. And so I wasn't going to be like, hey, I need time and space. You just buy my book some other time. No, I was like, I'm a businesswoman too. I was like, hey, buy my fucking book. That's great. Like, thank you for supporting me. So, the time went by. I didn't get like a minute of downtime. I was talking and entertaining the whole time. And so then I went in my body rolling class and I love teaching body rolling. It is awesome. Like, having all the different size balls, you can get in different areas. And what we were doing like was like hips and quads, which I totally need. And like 20 minutes in, you know, I was leading the class. I started with my Dharma talk, just, you know, applying yoga principles to life and like showing people how that works. So I did that, and then I realized that I was in class and I wasn't really like there, you know, like I was thinking about the prior class and I was in a different role at the time. And I just kind of stopped and I breathed and I thought, this hasn't happened in a while. Like I love this class and I love being here and teaching it, and I get to kind of take it with people. And I kind of asked myself why, and I thought, I am so hyped up from that prior class. And like, I kick everybody's ass in that class, of course, you know, and I kick my own ass too. We all get our asses kicked. There is lots of ass kicking to be had. So I thought, man, like, it was almost like what a shame, but not in a shamey way, like in a, wow, like this is something that I think I can do better. And like, I want to do better for me, like not from an external, like you should do this better, but more of a like, wow, like I really want this for me and I want this for everybody else. And so by looking at that, it sort of opened up the other areas of my life where I'm just running from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next. And sitting down and eating mindfully, even though I'm not like super great at it, I feel like I maybe am like a yellow belt or a green belt at it, which I started at like a white belt. I started like a no belt. Like it was terrible. It was like such an unturned stone in my life. You know, sitting down and doing that, and then, you know, combined with my yoga practice, with my meditation practice, of, you know, having movement and being conscious, like while you're doing a thing, as well as being still, kind of different ways to test your mindfulness, really brings to light what you got going on inside. You know, it helps you to pop the hood a little bit so you can kind of like tinker around in there. So I don't know anything about cars, by the way, but I like that metaphor. So what I'm doing now is like taking my breaths, and like when I'm going for, you know, setting myself up for my next activity, I'm thinking, what is my intention here? What is my intention? Like, what role am I playing? What is my intention? Like, I'm going to be teaching my Yoga Fit class in a few minutes in the other studio. And so I want to embody the role of almost like yogi personal trainer, like the personal trainer with the heart of gold. So I think I do that pretty well. And I like it when I tell jokes and people laugh at them. Even if they're mediocre, they give me a pity chuckle. So hopefully jokes will be good today. Yeah, and just like let intuitive force flow through me in a very strong Kali Ma, like divine, fierce mother mover way. So that's my intention. So taking time to do that and then cap it at the end, like, okay, I am done with this ceremony, almost like, you know, you do a puja ceremony sometimes before you do like a yoga class, and it's like, oh, it's just like encapsulates the whole experience. It's so beautiful. You know, there's so often in our lives when we're not doing that, right? We're doing like 8 things at once and nothing it is sacred because we're not being intimate with it. We're not really exploring it to the depths. And I get it because I do it too. It's like everything feels like it needs to be done all the time at once. My friend Mpon was saying like, when she drinks coffee, it's like, oh my God, I need to do all the things. They need to be done like now. And there's like 10 things and I better do them perfect. Or, so making things a ceremony really helps for us to slow down and for us to recognize the sacredness of life. So there's a yama, it's called asteya, which means non-stealing or being generous. And I like to think about it as like, be generous with yourself in the moment. It's like if you were a salad, pour like all the salad dressing, like the second cup that you get at the store, at the restaurant, pour that second cup on. Be generous with it. Just like soak into the moment. So I'm working on this in my life. I wanted to make this a shorty for you. Though this is actually my longer podcast, but it seems like they're getting shorter. I will also do a short like affirmation one. Making life into a ceremony as much as you can, I think is super helpful. Yeah, I hope that helps you. I hope my perspective, you know, gave you some benefit. And just an FYI, I have 3 spots left in my Costa Rica yoga teacher training in June. I have 6 spots left in my life coach training this January. You can do it online or you can do it in person. I only take 6 more. It doesn't matter if you're in person or online, because I'm dedicated to you, and I'm dedicated to you for the next 6 months. So plus 8 intensive days working with me. Oof. No, it's good, but it's intense. I think that's it. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you so much for listening. If you want to support the podcast and if it's helping you, please consider writing a review. You can go to iTunes or Google Play, go into the search bar and type in Thrive Yoga Fit Transformational Coaching, scroll down, and you can leave a review. This helps other people to find me as well as bumps us up in the search ratings. Also, this podcast is sponsor-free, so that means we don't receive anything for doing it. If you feel so inclined and this podcast is helping to support you and you want to return the favor and help to support any production costs of the podcast, feel free to give a donation to a Venmo link, Thrive Yoga Fit, or PayPal, Erin@erincoach.com. If you don't have the means, don't worry about it. We're not going anywhere. You're all good. But if you would like to give back, you can give back in those ways. Last thing, we have a coaching certification coming up, and it's 7 days of an intensive work, followed by a 3-month mentorship. You will not find another teacher that's more passionate and dedicated than I am to my students and their learning. And not just their learning, but the application and how they show up in their life. If you've been listening to this podcast and it's had a huge impact on your life, just imagine what it would be like to spend 7 intensive days with me and then a 3-month mentorship. You can check that out at thriveyogafit.com/coach-certification. Again, thriveyogafit.com/coach-certification. Thank you so much. Namaste.